Welcome back to another amazing episode of Royally Confident with your host, Janice, your woman's confidence mentor. And let's get into another amazing episode. Okay, today's episode is how to manage negative thoughts. As a person who still has negative thoughts, it's not something you could just let them go and they just magically disappear like magic. No, things happen and we are only human and negative thoughts happen. So instead of trying to make them magically disappear, we're not going to do that in this episode. We're going to learn how to manage the negative thoughts so we don't spiral into a negative thought cycle. So I'm really glad that you are here, and this is how to manage negative thoughts, especially if you have them all the time. This has worked for me whenever I thought negatively, because I still do. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I don't. I'm not perfect. And I just manage them so I don't spiral and get into this insecure trap where I just say more negative things about myself. Okay, first is having a thought doesn't make it true. So if you're telling yourself that you are too much, you are ugly, that girl is prettier than me, I'll never get the man I want, or, just a bunch of negative thoughts that you can think of, that doesn't mean it's true. So, one of my biggest negative thoughts was that I was too much. And this is actually one of the things that is happening modernly. This is one of the negative thoughts a lot of women have when it comes to relationships, is that they think they are too much. And honestly, I'm just going to be super honest here that sometimes we are too much. But that doesn't mean that we are horrible and terrible people. And the people that really love us love our too muchness, okay? And people who try to make us small because we are too much, those are not the people for us, okay? But that's not what we're talking about today. So basically, having a thought doesn't make it true. So if you say you're ugly, that doesn't make it true. If you say you're fat, yeah, if you are fat, but that doesn't mean you aren't capable. So a lot of people like to fight the negative thoughts. I have seen it in TV shows and other people who are just like spiraling into the negative thoughts because they're actually trying to fight it. They're either like telling themselves to stop doing it and that you need to stop thinking like that. It's basically like you're punishing yourself as if you were punishing like someone who did something wrong. And you doing that is a way of fighting it. So if you just stop fighting every negative thought that comes and acknowledge it instead, it will become a lot easier to manage, I'm telling you. So I used to really fight my negative thoughts, especially when I started healing. And I used to be like, bad Janice, bad. Like, you shouldn't be thinking like that. That's not the way to think. And then I listened to this podcast, and honestly, I don't remember it, but I remember listening to a podcast saying that we shouldn't just like fight the negative thoughts because of the fact that we're human and there's no way in hell like this is just gonna not be a thing. Like, it's just not gonna not be a thing. So I am telling you that you cannot fight the negative thoughts. This is not about fighting your mind. All right, so I'm going to show you an exercise on how to manage your negative thoughts. So this exercise is basically whenever the negative thoughts come, this is what you're going to do. So first we're going to start with the cloud exercise. So with the cloud exercise, you're going to think of your negative thoughts as pieces of clouds. So whenever you look up into the sky and you see clouds floating by, they're just floating and then eventually they disappear and you eventually forget that the cloud was even there. So in this exercise, you're going to put every negative thought that comes to mind when it does come on a cloud. So you remember like, okay, I'm thinking I'm too much. Let's put it on a cloud. And then look at it in your head, the cloud, and it's going away. And then you just go back to being present. So an example would be, right? Like, I'm too much. It's floating. It's floating. Of course, he choose her over me. Look, it's just floating and then eventually disappears. Right? These are some negative thoughts that we've had. And look, like, it's like, oh, I see you. Right? Like, oh, I see you, but Like, I'm not fighting it. I'm not saying bad, 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 bad. You're not thinking that. I'm not fighting it. I'm not punishing myself for thinking them. I saw them, acknowledged them, and they floated away, and now I can go on with my day. Another is, if the cloud thing doesn't work for you, you can pretend that you're sitting by a riverbank and you see fishes floating by, and each fish has a negative thought. Because you know how, like, you'll see a fish, but eventually they just swim away, like they're gone. So, an example would be like the fish. Maybe my standards are why I'm single, or I hate that I still care what men think, you know? But now, look, I see them. I acknowledge that they're there, and then now they're gone. All the fishes are gone. So that would be the exercise I recommend on how to manage your negative thoughts. Because honestly, this is the best exercise, especially when you want to meditate. There are meditations out there for these exactly. So I would experiment. My advice for you is to experiment with these meditations, because when it starts, your negative thought starts, you got to put it on a cloud. You're acknowledging it, like, oh, I just thought that I was too much. And then you just be like, oh, okay. I thought that. Okay. I acknowledge you that I thought that. That doesn't make it true. And then you just focus on something in front of you, focus on something different. So when you get a negative thought, you should ask yourself, where did this thought even come from? Acknowledging these negative thoughts work so well, because I used to just call myself that I was too much, because I used to get ghosted by my friends. Well, they're not my friends anymore because they ghosted me. But I used to get ghosted by plenty of people, and I thought that maybe I was too much or too mean or too much attitude or something. And they never told me why they didn't want to be my friend anymore. So I thought that I was too much, and that's where the negative thoughts came from. And then, like, I had to catch, like, what if I'm too much? What if I'm this? I caught myself recently, like, I was saying, well, what if I don't make enough money? Or what if I don't find a job? And then I realized, like, oh, like, but what if you do? So you're going to ask yourself the opposite after you catch yourself doing the what ifs, like, okay, but what if it does work out? What if I do make money? What if I do get a client? Or what if, what if I am not too much? What if I'm amazing just the way I am? So you have to remember that the words that you say and constantly replay is like a habit. So, brushing your teeth is a habit. Or if you make your bed, it's a habit. If you binge watch Netflix, it's a habit. If you smoke cigarettes, it's a habit. You're doing something constantly every single day and it becomes a habit, good or bad. That's the same thing if you constantly keep repeating the negative thoughts. That's why the exercise I showed you with the fish and the clouds is like acknowledging it but not repeating it. And you're gonna like make sure you always know that you ask the what ifs already, and you ask the, well, what if it does work, or what if I'm not too much? Knowing this will help you manage the negative thoughts, so when they do come, they just float on by like a cloud in the sky. You don't need to replace every negative thought that you actually don't believe. Okay, so let's say that you believe that you are super ugly or whatever, or you're really too much or something like that. Then you have to replace it with something that makes it less harmful. So instead of like saying things like, I'm the most beautiful woman in the world, like obviously I'm not going to believe that. I don't think I'm the most beautiful woman in the world, but I don't need to be the most beautiful woman in the room to be worthy. So if that also feels fake, like saying I'm the most beautiful woman in the world, then you're going to want to try, I don't need to be. You want to word it where it's believable for you, but it's also something that's not going to make you feel less worthy or small, but something that's honest. Like, yeah, maybe I am too much for some people, but that doesn't take away that people will love me just because I am too much. which feels better than saying like I'm never too much. Like honestly, I know I could be too much, and sometimes I honestly know I can be very boring, but I don't need to be the most exciting person in the room. I don't need to be the most quiet person in the room, or I don't need to be the most like energetic person in the room to be worthy of someone's attention. I know that I have people who actually want to hang out and just exist in my space, even when I'm just very quiet and very chill. So, me telling myself that makes me feel really good about who I am as a person, not my looks, just like my personality. So, instead of saying like everyone loves me, which is completely not true, not everyone is going to love you. And when you realize that, when you accept that everyone's not going to love you, that's even better. You don't want everyone to love you, honestly. You would try and say things like, not everyone needs to like me, because honestly, not everyone needs to like you. You could have like a stalker liking you, or someone who's like nasty, unhealthy, obsessed with you, and we do not want that. No, 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 no. So, managing your negative thoughts. So, like, if you say, I'm too much, I usually say I may be too much for some people, but I am enough for others. And I'm not going to dim my light to make other people comfortable. Yeah, with the head bob. Or like, I know I'm not the most beautiful woman in the world, or probably even in the room, but that doesn't mean I'm not worthy of someone's attention. Because it's true. Like, just because I'm not skinny or I'm not this or not that doesn't mean someone's not going to want me. That doesn't define my worth either. Like, even if someone didn't want me, it doesn't mean I'm not worthy of friendship love or family love and things like that. So just know that when you shape it into something different, that helps you manage your negative thoughts better. So your thoughts don't get to make every decision. So basically, maybe you don't want to post a picture on Instagram because your negative thoughts are like, what if someone laughs at me? What if someone makes fun of me? What if blah, 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 right? Then you're going to switch it up like, well, what if someone actually likes it? What if someone actually cares and says I'm doing a good job? You know? Because everyone is going to judge you regardless. Like, what, even if you hide small and you look at when you're out and about, people are judging you. Even when you're like the most energetic person and you're so happy and you're so like wanting to be everyone's friend, someone's gonna judge you. Even if you're like very sad and depressed, someone's gonna judge you. Like, no matter what, you can't get rid of judgment and perceivement. It's impossible because that's what people normally do. It's just like in our nature to judge somebody, especially based off what we see. So it's better just to post the picture anyways. You cannot hide from it. Even as much as you want to stay in your house and not get perceived or judged, you cannot hide from it. And you should just do it anyways. Do not let every negative thought make a decision for you. Do it anyways. I say I like to think like I'm going to fail and try anyway. So I failed at a lot of things and I still try them anyways. So now I'm currently living in Thailand and I could fail, but I wanted to try anyways to see how I would do. And here I am doing it. So just keep going. Even when the negative thought comes, use the cloud exercise and do it anyways, even though you are so scared, because honestly, that is real growth. So you can always think like maybe I'm not good enough and you can apply it anyways. So basically maybe there's a job that you don't think you're good enough, apply it anyways. Or maybe there's this guy that's like a total baddie and you're like, oh my god, he's too hot for me, try anyways. Or if you're like, well, you know, I really want to be her friend, but she's really pretty, I don't think she'd want to be my friend, try anyways. Basically, even if you don't think you're good enough, do it anyways. You'll be pleasantly surprised. Confidence isn't necessarily getting rid of the thought. Sometimes confidence is just refusing to let it run your life. I'm telling you, negative thoughts is something that also honestly happens to everybody, even the most confident person, even the most assured person in the room. But managing it and refusing to let it run your life is a whole different story. So, like, this girl wanted to go to this party and she lost weight, but she was still insecure. Like, it didn't even matter. This is what I don't understand sometimes. Like, I lost all the weight and I got confidence, but I was still insecure. I couldn't understand why. Why was I still insecure, but I lost the weight? No, like losing weight does not fix that shit. You need to like really look through that shit, like where did it come from, blah, blah, blah. So you don't want to let a thought run your life. And right now, currently, as I'm in Thailand, I've lived in this culture before, but it just feels so shocked since I've been in China. And honestly, like I am constantly working on my insecurities and keep pushing forward, even though like I'm super fat. And that's weird for people. And I like to take motorbikes instead of cars. So I get rejected all the time because of that. And it does hurt. Like, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like it doesn't hurt or like I got all this tough skin and I just let it roll off my back. No, it hurts. But I still do it anyways. I still order the bikes anyways. It hurts. It honestly hurts when I get rejected by a motorbike. So, I do it anyways. So just telling you, like, your confidence mentor here, lots of confidence, still has her days and does it anyways. So remember that repetition matters. So repeating the cloud exercise, repeating the fish exercise, or a fly that passes by kind of exercise. Repetition matters. Also repeating the positive things like, I may be too much, but I'm not too much for the right people, or I'm not the beautiful in the room, most beautiful in the room, but it doesn't mean I'm not worthy. Like repetition matters. I know you remember when I said it. Smoking a cigarette is a habit, doing karaoke is a habit. Like there's all these habits you can do. So you better just do it. Make it a good habit. Because you'll feel a lot better, trust me. So just know that one exercise isn't going to erase years of thinking a certain way, because habits are hard to break. Yeah, they are. But if you really want it, you're gonna go for it. There's this habit right now that I have. I used to smoke vape, right? It's the electronic cigarette in China, and it's super illegal here in Thailand. And every time after lunch, I want to smoke. I'm just like, ugh, and I don't want to smoke cigarettes. So like, ugh, I'm breaking a bad habit, and it sucks, and it hurts, and it's like, fuck, I want to smoke, but I'm doing it anyways. Like I still haven't done it, and I'm really proud of myself. So just know that it's not going to erase gears, but it's going to help start. The more you practice managing your negative thoughts instead of letting them run your life, the easier life will get. So make sure you catch it, question it, and let it pass. Choose your action, repeat. Eventually, you'll be building a different response to that thought. So now whenever I think negatively about if I'm too much or if I'm too fat or something, I have an immediate response to it. Like, nah, gee, like, yeah, maybe you are fat, but that doesn't mean that you're not worthy of respect. It doesn't mean you're not worthy of love. That doesn't mean shit. Like now I have like automatic responses. Like you're not trying to create a mind that never says anything negative, because it's literally impossible. And if you're out there saying, no, that's not impossible, I've done it, yes, good for you. But for those who are like me, who struggle constantly with thinking negatively, and, are supposed to be like the most positive person in the place, but they neglect to see that we also have our insecurities. That's who I'm talking to, is you, because I'm like that. Like I can't just like erase negative thoughts permanently, but I can manage them so they don't run my life. So basically, you're becoming the person that is gonna hear the negative thought, like you're not good enough, and respond with interesting thought. Anyways, I'm still going. Like you're acknowledging, all right, interesting. Okay, let's move on. Let's go back to present. So this is managing negative thoughts. So that was our episode on managing negative thoughts. I hope that really helped you. That's how I used to manage my negative thoughts, or how I'm still managing my negative thoughts. I can't say they're forever gone. But this is the simple exercise, which is with the clouds and the fishes and acknowledging it. And if you really want to deep dive into it, you can sign up for my mentorship program, or you can ask your therapist because they should have these ideas as well. So remember, you can join the Royally Confident Collective to grow, heal, and choose together. We go through these negative thoughts together and we work on them. So my collective is all about dealing with the things that are holding us back from maybe going to that party we really wanted to, or going out to that restaurant we wanted to go to by ourselves, or we were too scared of people looking at us. That's what we're here for, to support. And I do it also one-on-one. Else, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, if you want to learn more how-tos or anything that I like to just talk about when I'm randomly. And thank you for joining my channel, and see you next time on Royally